What's going on, Flyers fans, and welcome back to the Clear the Ice program here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy Matty B here on the call. And what about them Philadelphia Flyers 2-1 winners tonight in overtime against the Detroit Red Wings? Flyers have now secured 11 points out of their last 6 games. They are unbeaten in regulation in the last 6 games. Have pushed themselves right back into the conversation of the wild card, now up to 50 points. And, and they played a team tonight in Detroit that has definitely turned a corner. I mean, they're trending kind of in the same direction that the Flyers are, but they are a team that the Flyers are trying to keep, I guess, if we're talking playoff push, if we're talking playoffs, this is a team that's in the Flyers' way or potentially could be in the way. They began the night a little bit lower than the Flyers in the standings, but a bitter battle down there at the Wells Fargo Center, Flyers, Red Wings. You got to tip your cap. Take your helmet off, flip up your visor, do something to the grittiness of this Philadelphia Flyer team. Not the most prettiest offensive game for the Flyers. They had their opportunities tonight, but some of those old bugaboo problems that have plagued this team throughout the season kind of cropped up. The giveaways, again, 14 tonight. They were at times very indecisive with the puck, but at times they were very decisive. They battled. And Sam Ersson, man, still giving up the rebounds, driving me crazy. But Sam Ersson is definitely, and again, I'm not going to come on here and tell you Sam Ersson is a number one in this league. I'm not going to come on here and tell you that Sam Ersson is the future for the Philadelphia Flyers in net going forward. But I am going to come on here and tell you that when he's healthy, and when he's healthy, and right now with the current crop of Flyers goalies, he is the best option going forward on a day-to-day basis for the Flyers. You get the 1-0 lead, and Joe Farabee, another goal for him as he's starting to kind of wake up finally. You get that 1-0 lead, you nurse it through the 3 quarters of the game, and then you give up one of those dreaded early period goals that we've talked about, how you want to stay away from giving up the late period goals or giving up the early period goals. 30 seconds, I believe, into the third period, the Red Wings did tie it. But then, to the Flyers' benefit, they fought hard. And then when you get to overtime, with this team the way they are, and listen, where they lack talent, where they lack bona fide scorers, where they lack franchise-altering type players, they are a significantly better team in the extra frame in overtime than they are 5-on-5, because this team can score better 4-on-3 or 3-on-3. Michkov is the prime example of that. Going into tonight's game, Michkov has 14 goals, and 6 of them have only been scored on 5-on-5. So he's scored 8 of his 14 either on the power play or in overtime in odd situations or lower than 5-on-5. The Flyers are a sight better type of team in the OT. So getting a game into overtime, if you're a Flyers fan, this year has definitely been a sign that there's still a chance to get the win, because the Flyers are a better overtime team. They're more built for the overtime period, I guess the word. They got a lot of fast skaters. They got young skaters. They got skaters with legs, and they somewhat wear down a team a little bit in the overtime, even though it's only 5 minutes, but they still, it's coming off at the end of the game. So they wear them down, and they're able to pick and choose their moments. And tonight they did as well, and they get the game winner in overtime. 2-1 Flyers winners, man. Got to give them credit. Absolutely got to give them credit. Joe chiming in with a great win by the Flyers. Yeah, Joe, as I said, tonight now they've gotten 11 points out of their last 6 games. They are undefeated in regulation in those 6 games. The last time the Flyers have lost in regulation was back on January 9th to the Stars. So if I come on here, which I do a lot, and I bash them when it's applicable, then I got to give them the credit when it's applicable too. And the Flyers deserve a lot of credit tonight. They beat a team they're not good. I mean, I know the Red Wings aren't good, but they are a team that's chasing the Flyers for a potential playoff spot. And if you're looking at the playoffs this year, if you're one of those Flyers fans that believe this is the year that they're going to somehow break into the playoffs, then this was the game that you needed to have, because you got a team in the Red Wings that's chasing you. So let's head over now to the said game, and let's get into some of this game tonight. The Flyers for the game. Let's pull it up here. On the game tonight, the Flyers had Eric Johnson, Scott Lawton, and Kovalsov as healthy scratches. Of course, some off the ice type notes. The Flyers did send Ryan Poehling to the IR yesterday, I believe it was. He went to the IR. Flyers now currently are with Poehling, Ellis, and Nick Deslauriers. Has anybody asked about an update about Nick Deslauriers? Not that I'm really concerned about it, but he's been on friggin' IR for a hot minute now. Again, not that I miss him or anything. I just noticed his name here, and I was just wondering if anyone has an update on him because I can't find one. But currently, the Flyers have $9.85 million of their contract money on IR with Ellis, Deslauriers, and now Poehling joining the group. He was put on IR yesterday. Avon was brought up from Lehigh Valley to replace him. For the Red Wings, they had Tyler Mote, William Lagesson, and Joe Velino as their healthy scratches. Flyers went with Sam Ersson, as I just kind of gushed a little bit about Ersson, and I believe this truly. I don't think Sam Ersson is legitimate number one in this league. I don't. And part of the reason why I don't think that is the durability problem. Yes, that is an issue. Not being able to rely on him to play every game or toe the line of an 82-game season without going on the IR, that's a problem. And I don't care if he's Patrick Waugh in sheep's clothing or, Hasek or any of those, or Price or any of those goalies. If he can't be between the pipes because of injury issues and durability questions, that is a problem with the overall player's makeup. So right now, I don't think he's the number one in this league. But right now, I also believe that he is the best option, when healthy, that the Flyers have in between the pipes. Still giving up those goddamn big rebounds. That's something he's got to figure out. And maybe that's another reason why I don't really believe in him as a true number one. But tonight and over the last few games, Ersson has been solid back there. Absolutely solid. Tonight he faced 28 shots, saved 27 of them. Only that one goal, finishes with a .964 save percentage. On the Red Wings side, they went with old friend Alex Lyon, who, since he left the Flyers many, many, many moons ago, I believe it was to Anaheim, the Flyers offloaded him to, or he signed as a free agent. I don't even remember how that went. But since he's left, he's made somewhat of a career for himself as, a starter on a team like the Red Wings. And as I said, the Red Wings are a very mirrored image of the Flyers in terms of where they are in their development. They may have a little bit more skill on that team, which they kind of do. But Alex Lyon has scraped out a career for himself as a potential fringe starting goaltender in the NHL. Alex faced 26 shots, saved 24 of them, gave up 2 goals, 1 in overtime, and finishes with a .923 save percentage. On the night, the Flyers were outshot overall by the Red Wings 28-26. No penalties. The Flyers did not give up and commit any penalties tonight. So there was no need to have to be killing penalties tonight. 0 for 0 on that, or 0 for 0 on the Red Wing power play. The Flyers had 1 power play of their own, did not score. Flyers would finish with 16 block shots, 14 giveaways, and 6 takeaways. It's all not good news as those giveaway numbers continue to be very, very, very big, very, very tall, very, very large, and very, very, I honestly believe, totally unacceptable about what this team is when it comes to giving away pucks. They are so night and day from a year ago, the way they take care of the puck. So, Barbara, how are you doing? Glad we won, but hate giving them a point. Yes, as Barbara's mentioned, but Barbara, you got to take things in a little bit of a, tempered way here. They go into that third period up 1-0, and you never want to give up the early goal in the period. And I've seen it happen so many times in my life. When you give up that late goal in the period, like with a minute or less left, or if you give up a goal early on in the period, which is up to a minute, it has a tendency to really kind of suck the life out of a team. And tonight, when the Flyers gave up that early third period goal, I thought, oh no, they're going to lose 3-1. Right? They're going to, everything that they've worked for, couldn't get another one past Lyon, and now they give up one early in the third. It's going to implode. But this is, again, maybe a sign of the maturation of the team under John Tortorella. They didn't come apart. They didn't turtle up. They continued to fight. They continued to chip away. They got the big saves. They got opportunities. They couldn't cash them in, but they did not turtle up, and they continued to stay within their game and within themselves, and they forced in overtime. Sometimes you gotta take what's given to you, and you give up that early goal. It sucks, but holistically, when you look at what could have happened in that third period after that early goal went in, it's totally a deflating thing for a team when they give up goals late and early on in periods. Totally sucks the energy out of the room. It makes everybody heads go down. Everything changes, if not for a few seconds, but it changes in the mentality of the player. I've been there. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And tonight, the Flyers did not let that hamper them. And again, I'm going to look at that as a sign in their development as a team, as professional hockey players. And they fought their way back. And yes, they did have to give up the point there, but take them where you can get them. I love when our goalies play outstanding. Barbara, I don't know if you heard it. I just went on about a 30-minute, that wasn't 30 minutes, it was about a 3-minute rant about when healthy and when physically able to. Sam Ersson is obviously our best chance in between the pipes, regardless of what the coach says. I think Fedotov is years away from even smelling himself as an NHL goaltender, whether it be a starter or a backup. I don't know what Fedotov is, and I don't think you're going to know what Fedotov is for years. Kovasov has the higher trajectory for me at this particular moment in his career. Just like his makeup better than Fedotov. I trust him more, honestly, than I do Fedotov. But Ersson gives the Flyers their best chance, hands down. And when he's not in the lineup and when he's hurt, which has been somewhat frequently this year, the Flyers have definitely felt that. But tonight, yeah, I mean, Ersson continues to play really well. Just stop giving up the rebounds, man. Stop giving up those fatties right there in front of the net. It makes me age like years watching that. And but yeah, I can't complain about Ersson's technical game. It's very good. Absolutely. I just got here a couple minutes ago, but I agree on the goals. Yes. Well, I wanted to restate that, Barbara. So there you go. I went over all that stuff. I gave you all the administrative stuff. Let's get into the goal. The Flyers would get things going here in this game, not until the second period. Teams were kind of feeling each other out. No goals scored in the first period. The Flyers would outshoot the Red Wings 8-6 in that first period. It wouldn't be until the beginning part of the second period where the Flyers would finally break through. Farabee, his 7th from Couturier, his 16th, and Mitchkov, his 20th, to give the Flyers a 1-0 lead at 5:21. Let's take a look at this goal. This is, as I said, when we've looked at the Flyers and the way they play, at least over these last 6 games, I can honestly say that there's a couple things that I've liked about the goal scoring. It started with the It started with the Forrester, Brink, Cates line. They began to kind of really, carry the play offensively. But now it's bled out to everybody else, and they're getting scoring from a lot of different players. And if there's a player on this team that I've given up on, I ain't gonna lie to you, Joel Farabee. I've given up on Joel Farabee. I gave up on Joel Farabee probably last spring when he just struggled through yet another year, and this year hasn't been any different. But over the last couple of games, at least, he's starting to find the net. He's starting to get on the score sheet, which is good. And let's roll this thing. Flyers are going to enter the zone here. Look at Couturier. Everyone's on side. That's good. I believe that's Mitchkov kind of up there messing with the puck. He's going to get run off the puck a little bit, but he holds it, and the Flyers are able to maintain possession. They're going to now throw it into see, this is where this play kind of creates itself. A little bit of a you never listen. I'm going to go back to my coaching soapbox right here. This is terrible with 2 Flyer players literally standing next to each other. I guarantee, where's Tortorella? Can I see him in this shot? No, he's off camera, but I guarantee he's probably jumping up and down. Why are they standing next to each other? Because it's just absolutely terrible. It's like one player essentially, but with 2 people taking up that one spot. But it's going to actually create something positive for the Flyers, because then all the defense, as you can see, there's 1, 2, and a third Red Wing defensive player that's interested in all this nonsense happening up by the blue line. So they're all going to converge on it, which is going to open some things up, because these two guys are also concerned about it. And, you know, you got some players that are kind of skating in behind, and look how this play kind of flows. Everybody, you got how many? I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 Detroit Red Wing players converged on this side of the ice. You got numbers here. If you can get, you got something here. If you can get the puck over to Couturier, which happens right here in a roundabout way, because it's kind of a giveaway. But Couturier is going to jump on it here, and he does a really good job to try to control that puck. Nice backhand. Farabee's going to go to the net, and then he finishes it there with a beautiful backhand. Yeah, they made something very pretty out of something very ugly. Let's pop it back again, because Farabee up here on the blue line deserves some credit. There's Michkov there. Farabee deserves some credit because he's kind of like ABC on this play, as he's going to keep it in. He's going to keep it alive. Gets a little help there. Then it goes into the middle. Couturier, because of all the defensive pressure up on the blue line, has a lot of room to operate. Couturier, presence of mind, backhand. The Red Wing defenseman is out of position. Farabee, beautiful backhand, elevated over Alex Lyons. Flyers are up 1-0. A pretty goal, as I said, a pretty goal out of a really ugly situation for the Flyers, and they got the 1-0 early lead. And that would be all your scoring in that aforementioned second period. Flyers would be vastly outshot 8-3 by the Red Wings. They fell asleep in the period, but where it really matters is on the scoreboard, and they got up 1-0. But then we talked about the giving up the early goals. You know, Ben Sherratt gets his second from Raymond, his 32nd, and Dylan Larkin is 23rd at the 30-second mark of the third period. You never want to see that. You know, the effect of what that type of goal has on a team is very derogatory. And the Flyers showed a lot tonight in kind of shaking off the effects of that and continuing to try to stay within their own game and battle and continue the fight through the third period. Let's bring it up. So we're going to pick up play in the Flyer zone. Puck is going to get in. It's going to be a kind of I don't know what's happening down there. You're talking a giveaway, a turnover, but there's some problems down there in the corner. Flyers are going to lose possession of the puck. It's my boy Cam York, man, really continuing the struggle. It's going to come out front. Let's stop it. Let's pop it back because I was too busy staring at Cam York. Cam York is really struggling defensively for this team this year, and it really hurts my heart to see it. Right now, the Flyers got this defended pretty well, I think. You got coverage here, you got coverage here, and you got one player on the boards. I totally agree with the way the Flyers are playing defense here. But the puck is going to bounce around kind of weirdly. The Red Wings are going to take a possession of it behind the net. It kind of goes out front, and then all hell breaks loose. And there's a mad scramble, and then which was defended nicely because the Flyers were intermediate here with these two guys, Brink and whoever that is. They over pursue, which then creates an opportunity for the incoming offensive player here. Once again, I don't know. You don't need two players pursuing the puck on the same side of the net. It just because now you look what you got. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 5 of your friggin' players are on the same side of the ice. That's not right because you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got somebody unaccounted for on the other team. Someone needs to have the presence of mind and back off the play and pick up the guy that's open, and the Flyers don't do that. And it's a little bit of a tic-tac situation here. Nice little play out front. He fills the lane. Now here comes the shot, and there's the score. So, which started out to be a very well-defended play by the Flyers, turns out to be a terrible defended play, and Erson gives up the goal there early on. And still, even with the bad defense there, I still thought the Flyers, and that was a savable shot, but Erson could not make the shot or make the save, and that would tie things up at 1-1, and that's how we would end. The third period would end 1-1. Flyers would be outshot 13-10 in that period, and then into the overtime. I don't have this goal for you. I'm sorry, but it was pretty. I think you all saw it. Tippett was involved. Farabee was involved. And the goal scorer, Ristolainen, his second, from Tippett, his 16th, and Farabee, his 11th at the 4:34 mark. So coming down the home stretch of the overtime period, the Flyers score the game winner, get the bad boy 2-1, and there's your final. The Flyers have now finished. I think this was it. They finished their season series with the Red Wings at 2-1, taking the games 4-1, 2-1, and losing 6-4. So I think we're done with the Detroit Red Wings, unless, of course, we see them in the playoffs, which I doubt that's going to happen. But Flyers now have 11 points over their last 6 games, and they are undefeated in regulation in those 6 games. So all is positive for the Flyers heading in to a very interesting week on the schedule. Let's take a look at that real quick, because we got you covered here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Flyers will next face off against the Rangers on Thursday and the Islanders on Friday. So they're going back-to-back Thursday and Friday. Sal has you on Clear of the Ice Thursday, and I will have you on Friday. And that's what we got you for the week, man. Got you covered. But yeah, 2-1 Flyers with the overtime win. Let's head over to Mr. and Mrs. Stat Pack, as we typically do when I host. Flyers are now 22-20-6 for the season. They've hit the 50-point plateau. 48 games played, 22 for 134 on the power play tonight. Again, 0 for 1 tonight, but on the season, 22 for 134, 16.4 efficient. Flyers have been shorthanded 122 times and have killed 98 of them for 80.3%. Flyers now, with their 2 goals tonight, are up to 144 goals on the season. They're averaging straight at 3 a game now. They've given up 157 goals, and that's about 3.2. So they're catching up on that. They've made some strides there. Flyers now, with their shot effort tonight, have registered 1,307 shots. They've gone over 1,300 shots on the season, 27.2 a game. They've given up 1,286 for 26.7 a game. Flyers are now 6-3 in the extra session, 6-3 in overtime, 3-3 in shootout round. They have scored 6 shootout goals. They got the 3 shorthandeds, 261 takeaways for 5.4 a game. They've given the puck up an amazing, astonishing 707 times for a 14.7 click a game. Block shots, Flyers blocked 780 shots so far this season, up to 16.2. And since the 21-22 season, the Flyers now 116 for 840 on the power play at 13.8%. And I am now 14-9-4 as your host of Clear the Ice this year. Whew, let's get all that out. That's so there you have it. Flyers 2-1 winners in overtime over the Detroit Red Wings. They are now up to 50 points on the season. And as we take a look at the most updated version of the standings, and yes, I can allow myself to do that because we are in the second half of the year. The Flyers are now sitting at 50 points, 2 points behind the Montreal Canadiens for the final wild card spot in the East. But ahead of the Flyers are those Rangers, Blue Jackets, and Bruins, as the East is somewhat of a clogged area there for that wild card spot. Penguins are at 48 points, 2 points behind the Flyers. Really, if you're doing math at home, honestly, the only team that's really kind of out of this thing in the East is the Sabres. Everybody else has got a legitimate shot to get one of those final wild card spots at game 48 right now. Honestly, it's a very tight race in the East, with maybe the exception of the Sabres. And they could get hot. They're at 39 points. Sabres could get hot and find themselves right back in this thing. So East is wide open for those 2 wild cards. It could be anybody right now, with maybe the outside exception being the Buffalo Sabres at 39 points. But the Flyers now up to 50 points on the season, find themselves 2 points back in that final wild card spot. Barbara's asking, keep winning, don't let up. Barbara is saying, keep winning, don't let up. Barbara, I agree, but come on, Barbara. The goal is to win Stanley Cups, right, Barbara? And that goes for everybody tuned in. And please take this for what it is. Take this as positive, as me being positive. And I know that you got to, mark your calendar whenever I get positive. But I said this the other night. If the Flyers could win every game from the the 6 games that they've already won somewhat or haven't lost in regulation. They could win from that point all the way to March the 6th, the day before the trade deadline. And the Flyers could find themselves sitting pretty, maybe in the 7th seed or potentially back in 6 or whatever. I don't think it changes anything, meaning what this team is going to do at the trade deadline. I still don't think Danny B and Keith Jones are going to sit there and say, you know what? I see a legitimate opportunity in 24-25 to win a cup. So instead of trading away some veteran players, instead of trading away Scott Laughton finally, maybe getting a deal that someone actually is stupid enough to take Farabee or Morgan Frost, I don't see them saying, you know what, we're going to buy, because we feel so comfortable and confident in the fact that this team can make a deep run. We are going to buy at the trade deadline. I do not see that. Absolutely do not see that happening. And it's unfortunate, but it's the same dose of cold water in the face that we got last year at the trade deadline, right? There was a big group of Flyer fans out there that were like, they got to make a move. They're sitting at 6. We got some problems and we got some injuries at defense. Let's make a move. Let's strengthen the defense. Maybe bring a goal scorer here. Tarasenko was a name I heard thrown around. Let's do that. Let's try to make a push. And what did they do? They took a already depleted defensive core through injury, and then they traded Sean Walker away for a first-round draft pick. So if they weren't feeling comfortable last year at 6, I don't see it this year. I don't see them feeling that way at the trade deadline this year and saying, you know what, we're all in. We're not going to sell. We're going to buy. I just don't see it, because realistically, this team is a one and done if they are in the playoffs, and that's if they get there. It's a good thing to see, and this is what's frustrating about a rebuild. This is what's also frustrating about being stuck in purgatory with the rebuild, is that you're not a bad team, but you're not a good team either. You're stuck there in the middle, and that Danny B and Keith Jones got to do something to get us out of the middle. If they want to fall back into the bottom of the pack, so be it. Or if they want to say, that's it, we're in, let's go up to the top. That's fine. Get us the hell out of the middle, because there's nothing productive in the middle. Only thing that happens about being in the middle is frustration and getting pissed off and getting, we're just like there and we can't get over the hump. I don't want to feel that way anymore. Do something. Either do something significant to make a decision and say, you know what, I'm scrapping it. We're trading X, Y, and Z, and we're going to fall back significantly, and we're going to pick up major first-round draft capital, or the hell with it. I'm all in. We're going to trade some of our current first-round draft capital, and we're going to make a run. Do something. Just sitting in the middle's got to stop, and we got to get out of that area. Do something. Get it going in a different way, or just get it going, because we've come to a certain point with this team. Regardless of how well they are playing, and they are playing well now, we know what this team is. We know what this team is. The NHL knows what this team is. Everybody knows who the Flyers are. They're not an easy mark anymore. We got that. Congratulations, Danny B. Mission accomplished. We're not an easy mark, but we're not a good team yet. But we're not a bad team either. Let's go. Do something. Either let us fall down or push us up. Do something. That's what's the most frustrating part about the Flyers right now, for me, at least. I know we're not winning the cup this year, but it's been too many years with no playoffs. I want to make the playoffs, and then they can do it without making huge moves. But, Barbara, what is the end state of making the playoffs? Just getting your heart broken in April versus March or end of April? I mean, Barbara, I understand what you mean. I understand. I do. I totally get it. But, again, what is making the playoffs doing for this team? It's going to get them a worse draft pick. That's all. It's going to push us down in the draft order. It's not going to significantly accelerate the rebuild at all. We're still cap strapped. We're still middle of the road on a lot of different reasons and a lot of different ways. It's not, and only making the playoffs is going to do is push us down in the draft. I get it, Barbara. I understand. I feel you. But I don't want to make the playoffs, man. I want to win a Stanley Cup. And right now, the Flyers, in the current conscript of the team are not Stanley Cup winners. They're fringe playoff teams. They're at 500. They're an 8th seed. They're there. They're right in the middle of the damn road, and they got to make a decision on going on one side or the other. What does Mr. Miyagi say? You go left, you okay. Go right, you okay. You stay in the middle, squash like grape. That's what we got to get away from. You got to get the hell out of the middle of the road, or we're going to squash like grape. But I feel you, Barbara. I do. I'm not going to be with the Sixers. They're losing process. I won't stand for that. I'm not asking for the process, Barbara. Listen, it doesn't have to be let's sink to the bottom. It doesn't. We do have draft cap. We got 3 first-round picks in this year's first round, 2 second-round picks in this year's draft. They could get creative with those picks if they want to go all in. I guarantee you Anaheim would listen for Trevor Zegras for some of that first-round capital. Anaheim wants to do nothing but amass capital. They would listen if the Flyers dangle some of that first-round draft capital for Trevor Zegras. I guarantee you, I think that, what's-his-face, Buffalo would listen for Dylan Cousins with some of that first-round pick capital. But the question is, Danny B is not going to give that up. But that's fine. But do something then. Because right now we're stuck in the middle. And it's a frustrating place to be. That's all I'm trying to say. And I think I speak for a lot of Flyers fans when I say that, right? Being in the middle stinks. At least when you're in the bottom, you got nowhere but to go but up. If you're at the top, you're pushing, right? You're pushing through, but you're stuck in the middle. You just can't. You're spinning in the mud. It's all. Anyway, Flyers 2-1 winners tonight, and that's a positive thing. But now, and they find themselves at 50 points, 2 points back of a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. And Thursday and Friday, they're going to go back-to-back with the Rangers and the Islanders. I will be here on Friday. Sal has you on Thursday. Don't forget all the great other program we have here on the network. Of course, this is the ticket right here. Sunday, 6 p.m. after Eagles Commanders NFC Championship game. Be back here for the Birds Flyby. I am still toying with a pregame show concept for this show, so please stay tuned for that. Also, my show will be back tomorrow night, The Final Word with Matty B, at weeknights at 8 p.m., Sunday through Thursday. And Kyle Quinn will return for another rousing edition of the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, as we'll break down the NFC Championship game. Look back at the Rams, break down the NFC Championship game. So all this great program that we have coming up this week on the network, and then more and more and more and more. I think we're open for business. I don't know, Barbara, are we? Because he doesn't talk like we are. Matty, I love the Flyers with my heart. I do. Barbara, I feel you. I do. And if there's a team in this town that it pains me, that have been so deprived and starved for so long, it's the Flyers. But at the same token, Barbara, with the exception of maybe the Sixers, what's the reality of the Flyers winning a cup? I mean, there's a strong possibility, and I hate to say it like this because that means I am accepting my age. There's a strong possibility that the Flyers won't win another Stanley Cup in my lifetime. And that's because they won their first 2 when I was a little baby, literally. I was 1 year old, or what? 74, was it 73, 74? I was like a month old. The Flyers won their, no, I wasn't. I was 1 year and a month old. I was 13 months old-ish when the Flyers won their first Stanley Cup, right? 13 months old. And then obviously a year later, they won their second. But that's it. And there's a legitimate chance at this rate that I won't see one for the rest of my life. I mean, that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. At least when the Sixers won their last one, I was like 10. I have conscious memory of Mo Cheeks going down and laying the ball up late in game 5. I think it was game 4, wherever they beat the Lakers. I have a conscious thought. I was actually at the Sixers parade. I remember that. I have conscious thought of all the Phillies World Series. I was obviously conscious during the Eagles Super Bowl win. It's the Flyers that I was alive for but have no memory of because I was literally a baby. And there's a good chance, Barbara, that I may not see another one. And that's disgusting. It's been over 50 years since the Flyers won a Stanley Cup. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But I feel you. I long for the day that the Stanley Cup comes back to Philadelphia. But I don't know. I don't know. Manny, I want to meet you at our parade. I never give up hope. Well, Barbara, hopefully I can still like make out shapes and discern like people and like be able to speak. But yes, it's a date. Yeah. But I feel you. And the hockey parades, the basketball parades are the best because they're in the spring, in the nice weather. You don't have to bundle up. You can enjoy yourself. You know, what was the Phillies' last World Series parade on Halloween in 2008? It was freezing. The Sixers Super Bowl parade, freezing. But not for hockey or basketball. It's in the springtime. It's nice out. It sucks when they don't win. But there you go. Flyers with the 2-1 win in overtime. Now they are winners in their last 6, or have not lost in regulation through their last 6. The last time they have lost the game was on January 9th against the Dallas Stars. They pushed themselves to the 50-point mark and are only 2 points out of the final wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So that's going to wrap me up, folks. And thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody else, for checking in. Make sure to be checking back for regularly updating programming here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. We're here for you. And please give us a like, a share, subscribe. We really desperately need it as we're trying to grow this thing. But I cannot grow it without any help or support. Good night. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for the support. And oh my God, it's freezing out right now. And this is what it's going to be like for a Super Bowl parade. But in the spring, when hockey and the finals and NBA, literally the finals. Well, no, it's both now. It's in the dead of summer. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that. But please give us a like, subscribe, a share, a shout out, a thumbs up, whatever, because we definitely need it. And we'll be back tomorrow night for my show. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. The final word with Matty B at 8:00. And then we'll be back on Thursday with more Flyers post-game coverage, Thursday and Friday. And in the immortal words of the man, the myth, the legend, Gene Hart, good night and good hockey.